A bubble of life and death. People think in terms of life and death as a binary situation. You are either alive or dead. You are either walking and talking, or you are dead and gone. This is a very superficial and simplistic way to understand life and death. In fact, it is incorrect. Generally, the human perception of aliveness has always been that something must bleed, otherwise, it is not alive. Not anymore. Slowly, as science is advancing, our perception of what is alive and what is not is changing. Now we know that not just the plants and animals, but even the rock and the soils are alive. The air is alive, the water is alive, the soil that you walk upon is alive, and the very cosmic space is alive. Today, science proclaims that water has its own memory and intelligence. Someday, when science goes far enough, they will find that there is nothing in the cosmos that is not alive. The important question is, are you alive enough to perceive it? For me, even a rock is very alive. It has its own energy, and it and I see that it gathers its own memory over a period of time. It lives with it. It is only based on this that Dhanalinga is consecrated. It is only based on this that every deity in India exists. If we give this combination of energy and memory a certain amount of vibrancy of energy, it will slowly gather an intelligence of its own. Once it has a combination of all these three, it can have intent. Once it has an intent and the necessary energy to back it, it is capable of action. This is how life is. Right now, our idea of death is like this. When people say something has died, it only means that something just relapsed from dynamic to a more inert from existence. We recognize life as a certain level of dynamism, intent, and capability of action in a human being. If this dynamism sinks below a certain level, then we say they are dead. Because as far as our perception and our practical purposes are concerned, the things that we expect from human being are no longer possible for them anymore. He or she may root, become maggots, become manure, and then a mango or a coconut. All of them are life. But still, we don't consider them alive because they are not capable to find expressions as we expect of a human being. Essentially, there is a scale of dynamism from zero to infinity. Actually, there is no zero, there is the whole problem. Let us say Shiva, that which is not, is zero. And what we consider a divine is the highest level of dynamism. There are many levels of dynamism, even among human beings. For example, let us say someone has Alzheimer's disease. They don't remember a thing. But this does not mean there is no memory in them. It is very much there, but the dynamism of the memory is gone. It has become inert. But if the memory goes away completely, your body also will fall apart right away, because what you call as this body is held together just by memory. Right now, if a man eats a mango, it becomes a man. If a woman eats a mango, the same mango becomes a woman. If you give the same mango to a cow, it goes inside the cow and becomes a cow. Is this the smartness of the mango? No. There is such a strong memory structure in you that whatever you put in, the memory will make sure it becomes you, not some other person. This is why if you eat a mango, one part of it becomes your skin in the same skin tone as yours. It does not turn yellow because the mango you ate was yellow. Moreover, biologically also, a certain level of dynamism of memory is needed to bind all organs, cells and atoms together to our intention of living. Right now, you have trillions of cells in your body that are functioning the way you want because there is a strong intent that is holding them together. But if you lose this intent, which is your ability to make all these atoms and cells function the way you want, we say you have died. The deterioration of the body begins to happen. The organism goes through certain disorganization, but it becomes a part of a larger organism of the planet, universe, or cosmos. As an organism ages, it loses its content. If you lose your intent, then gradually action goes first. Then your conscience memory will begin withdrawing, and along with your energy will follow. The air is alive, a rock is alive, a tree is alive, an animal is alive, a bird is alive, a human being also alive. It is just that they have a different levels of intent, different levels of intelligence, and above all, different dimensions of memory. That is all. The volume of conscious memory that you are capable of determines your capability of intent. From an amoeba to a human being, it is only a question of complexity. Every creature has intent, but it is largely unconscious intent. Only with the human being there is a conscious intent. That is what sets us apart. Right now, my unconscious intent may be that I want to eat, but my conscious intent is to write this book, which no other creature really thinks of. For them, whatever is their unconscious intent is also largely their intent. Maybe dogs and a few other animals are capable of conscious intent in a small way, but beyond that, everything is unconscious intent. But if a human being is willing, we can develop a large conscious intent from the bank of memory we have on various levels, because there is such a huge foundation for this life. If you want an analogy, consider this. In a way, what you refer to as a life right now is like soap bubbles being blown. A rock, a plant, and a human being are all like soap bubbles of different kinds. The layer of covering of the soap bubble is the complex amalgamation of a memory, various kinds of memory. In that sense, the nine avatars that the two talk about in Hindu traditions are just different levels of evolutionary, genetic, karmic, unconscious, subconscious, and conscious memory. The difference between human bubble and a rock bubble is just this: a rock bubble is mostly physical, with a thicker covering and less air inside, because all that is there is physical matter. It is only its physical integrity due to inanimate memory that holds it together. Not so much a conscious wave. You can break it with a hammer, it will be gone. But if you break a human bubble with a hammer, only the body will break. The wave of karmic memory contained within is such that it will always find another way to create another bubble or physical form. The entire yogic process or the entire spiritual process is to wear this double bubble thin, so that one day when it bursts, there is absolutely nothing left. It then moves from the bondage of existence to the freedom of non existence or nirvana. What I am saying might disappoint a lot of people, because what I am telling you, in other words, is that there is no such thing as an encapsulated life. This whole thing about the soul, the being, and other fancy things are all made up to go give solace to people. If you tell them there is no substance within them like that, they will become terrified. So, what about the person or the personality? There is no such thing as this person either. It is only a wave of memory that creates an illusion of this person. This is why when a person's memory is removed or dislodged in some way, like an Alzheimer's disease or something else, their personality is one thing that dies immediately. Suddenly, they are not the same person anymore, but still they have their own traits. It is like a scorpion has its traits that are very different from a grasshopper's. Similarly, people who have lost their memory will have different traits but no personality. If the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious memories are gone, if they are either dislocated or maybe wiped out, the genetic memory will come into play. If the genetic memory is wiped out, then the evolutionary memory will play. Even then, life is not completely gone because it has not completely dissolved. If you take out the memory altogether, if you pull the plug on it, it collapses immediately and the bubble cannot hold the air. Here, what you refer to as air is the fundamental life energy. You can call it consciousness. Consciousness is a quality, not a substance. It is the nature of the cosmos. You just blew a bubble and caught some amount of it. What we are trying to do with the conscious living or with sadhana is catch as much as air possible so that you are one big bubble and the wall of the bubble becomes very thin. You don't want to be a tiny little bubble, you want to become one big bubble because dissolution is an imminent possibility for sufficiently big bubble. With sadhana, you blow a huge bubble. You want to blow this in such a way that it will never again exist anywhere. It's the same memory form. For this, you have to grow it really big. Essentially, enlarging a bubble means making the wall thinner and thinner. With sadhana, you wear it out from inside. You stretch it. You stretch it much that it will burst one day. You make it so big where the memory stretches itself so thin that when it is broken, it is really gone. Suppose somehow, either due to life experience or intelligence or wisdom or whatever, someone blew a big bubble and it cannot be ignored by anymore. The moment such a life rolls out of the mother's womb, it will depict certain qualities simply because it is a big bubble. Everyone will be looking at that. 100 other bubbles may be floating about, but everyone will look at that. And this is what we call an evolved being. It does not matter whether one becomes a spiritual teacher or simply walks on the street, wherever the person is. People cannot ignore that being because there is a certain level of activity and intent. Now, using this analogy, what happens when someone dies? Your physical self is largely an accumulation of genetic memory and evolutionary memory. The other dimensions of memory are not in it so much. It is the energy body which holds that memory largely. So, when death occurs, whatever memory you gathered on the surface, the genetic, evolutionary, and other memories, is gone, but the deeper layer of karmic memory remains intact. Therefore, it seems to be almost eternal in your experience. It is in this context people say that the soul is eternal. It is not eternal, but in your experience, if something goes beyond your body, you call it eternal. In that sense, this long term memory within you, which will carry on through death, which will determine the nature of your future life and experience, is eternal. Of the 8 types of memory that you carry, all 7 types of memory will go when you fall dead. Evolutionary memory, which is instrumental in you taking the shape of human form, is gone. Genetic memory, which decides the color of your skin, the shape of your nose, and such thing, is also gone. The conscious, subconscious, and unconscious memories are also gone. Once you become disembodied, it is largely only the karmic memory which holds you together. In the process of death or disembodiment and the continuation of life process, we must understand that only one memory, the karmic memory, remains. Within this, you may categorize something as Sachita memory, Sachita karma, and something else as a Prarabdha karma. But essentially, it is karma which remains. One way to handle this bubble is to capture a larger piece of life. Now, even if you did not do anything much about dismantling your karma, the karmic wall becomes very thin simply because life size becomes more. The other way is to wear down the karmic wall. Very few people with properly intact karmic substance know how to just open the karmic wall and live on fine day. The rest have to wear it down. The reason why an enormous amount of activity is generally prescribed on the spiritual path is that you cannot blow your bubble thin from within. You try to wear it out from outside. Either way, you try to make the walls as thin as possible. The reasons they said you should go and sit in a sacred place like Dhanalinga or some other energetic place, or that you should go on yatras and so on, is to fix your karmic body. The karmic body is subject to influences because this whole thing has happened because of the accumulation of influences. So you can undo the karmic body by the right kind of influences, or by being in the right spaces, in communion with the right kind of people and the right kind of atmosphere. This is the idea behind structuring spiritual life in a certain way, so that one is constantly active, but it is not about oneself. The moment it is about me, karma will grow immediately. The karmic wall will gather substance, its walls will become thicker and thicker. The moment it is about me, I will have a strong sense of likes and dislikes. I can do that. I cannot do that. I can talk to this person. I cannot talk to that person. I want to love this person. I want to hate that person, and so on. These kinds of things will become natural part of me the moment it is about me. So the whole spiritual path in India has been designed in such a way that the karmic wall does not gather substance. At the same time, you go on enhancing the volume of life that you gather. It does not matter how much brains you have. It does not matter how much knowledge you have gathered. The significance of your life is always determined by the volume of life you captured. So the idea is to increase the real substance of life so that the cover or package becomes irrelevant. When it becomes irrelevant, it will dissolve. When it dissolves, the substance that was captured, which does not belong to you and which is anyway there everywhere, you become part of it. When you have a thick wall, you are like a golf ball because only a little bit of life is there. The rest is all karma. Now something pushes you a little, you will bounce all over the place. But if you have become a big bubble, if something pushes it, it will just glide. That is all. It is not going to hit this wall and that wall and go all over the place. This is the way life is happening to people. People who are very enslaved to their karmic structure, if you just pat them on the shoulder, they will bounce all over the place. But somebody who has grown in a certain way, whatever hits them, even if a bus hits them, they don't go all over the place. They will just glide away. See, not everybody who takes to spiritual process or sadhana is going to burst into enlightenment. But why they are living like that is because they are wearing down their karmic bodies. When the time comes, if the bubble becomes incompetent to house a genetic memory and evolutionary memory, then it cannot retake another body. Embodiment is not possible. It is over. All of it may not be gone, but the ability of the bubble to come back is over. If you brush the bubble completely, it is possible to completely eject out of this cycle. Then we would not call it death. It is the ultimate end of life. To do this, if it was a big bubble, you simply touch it and it would be completely gone. It does not need much action. Simply of its own nature, it can burst. Even with a sub bubble, if you try to poke it when it is small, it will only stick to your hand. it will not blow up easily. It will take a lot more action to burst it. But big bubbles just burst upon contact on their own. This is why many spiritual paths try to do justice. They try to blow the life bubble bigger and bigger with each lifetime so that one day it will burst on its own. But even when the bubble is small, the walls are thick. If people acquire the necessary wisdom and the intention, or if they are onto very powerful spiritual processes, they can crush it in the present lifetime itself. They don't have to wait for lifetimes to grow it very big.